Okay, let's choose up. I'll take Jamal and Tutal. You can have Chubbs and Skippy. Let's go. My ball.
Okay. But you got skins.
Not a good negotiator? You don't have to be a good negotiator at McCarthy Chevrolet. McCarthy guarantees the lowest prices on a new Chevy or we'll pay you $10,000. We guarantee there's no need to shop anyplace else. McCarthy Chevrolet, I-35 and Santa Fe, Olathe.
Slow down, Kirk.
Welcome to Hour 2 of the Midwest #1 weekly motorsports show, Track Talk, on the RacinBoys Broadcasting Network. Brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. Once again, here's Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
All right, 10 minutes into hour number 2. I think we got our problems fixed. Internet is slow here today. And as most people know, that can happen when we're talking about computers. So hopefully we'll stay up and running. Kirk Elliott, Scott Trail, along with Todd Surprise, producer, flipping the switches back there for us. We are hopeful that we'll have Larry Lowery Jr. and Scott L. Stewart on here in just a little bit. We'll be talking about the passing of Ron Whitworth, a sad day. Again, if you have not heard, we started off the show, hour number 1 on Sports Radio 810 WHB, talking about the passing of Ron, who was that Wednesday night.
Wednesday night. Right.
I just arrived down at Indy for the trade show, and Lloyd Collins had given me a call and said, have you heard the news? And I checked out on Facebook, and a lot of people were talking. I saw Rodney White. He had mentioned it as well. So 49 years young, Ron Whitworth was, and passing the owner of Humboldt Speedway. And it's just a sad, sad situation to see a guy at his age pass away and also lose a good promoter. You know, promoters been a big subject around here today, and Ron Whitworth has been known as one of the good ones in this area. So thoughts and prayers are out to his family, and hopefully we can talk to Larry Lowery Jr. or Scott L. Stewart, the announcer from Humboldt. They are both scheduled to be on with us.
Yeah, I want to bring Junior on because he wrote a good piece on inthepits.net about Ron Whitworth. You can check it out on their website.
One of the
Passing
good websites.
of a legend, right.
Yeah.
And good stories.
And we're going to get into it, but I just want to say this quickly. How in the heck does inthepits.net not get nominated at Central Auto Racing Boosters Tom Wilson Memorial Award? How does that happen?
I was shocked when I didn't see their name as
really,
part of
seriously,
the nominees.
I mean, I'm not going to get up on a pedestal too much here, but Metro Sports and all they've done the last 2 years out at Lakeside doing televised on their own dime.
They'd have been my choice to win the award.
Listen, on their own dime.
Yeah.
Larry Lowery Jr. did a great job. Metro Sports spending huge money. How does John and Junior not get nominated for that?
I don't know.
I'm telling you right now, I'm just going to say it out loud. That is the biggest freaking joke I've heard in a long time, that inthepits.net and Metro Sports didn't get nominated for that Tom Wilson Memorial Award. And I'm just going to say it right now. Tom Wilson was a dear friend of ours. Dear friend of mine. Started this show right here in this studio with Tom. That award means a lot to me. We won it, 10 or 12 years ago. But I'm just going to say it right now. After what happened last week, get rid of it. That is just a joke of an award. Real media member people should win that award. And the fact is, real media people aren't being nominated for it. The people that deserved it the most. I'm not talking about RacinBoys. Trenton Berry, Stick, John and Junior, Metro Sports. One of those three should have won that.
Even Randy Kovitz of the Kansas City Star.
Listen, Randy Kovitz deserves to be nominated.
Absolutely.
He does a lot of writing. But anyway, there it is. I've said it. I think it's a joke. And just get rid of the award, please. Just get rid of it. Because if you're not going to use it right, if all you're interested in taking care of your own, just get rid of it. Because it's a joke. All right.
Well, the job Junior Lowery did as the color man on those live TV telecasts, that was the highlight of the year as far as I'm concerned.
Junior could have been nominated himself.
Sure.
Just by himself. All right. Speaking of Larry Lowery Jr.,
he's here.
He joins us now. Larry, how you doing, bud?
All right. How you guys doing today?
I hope you heard all that.
Just whipping it up a little bit here this morning.
Man,
Man, I'm just saying, isn't it? Listen, I know this is kind of slippery slope for you, so you just dance around it any way you want, but I'm just saying the job that Metro Sports and yourself did out there, the dedication to that racetrack and the amount of money that they've spent to go out there and broadcast those races, don't you find it a little odd that they weren't nominated?
Well, a little bit. The thing that really, I thought we were only allowed to win the award once, and so we had gotten it once before. But the biggest rub that I had about the whole night is that we weren't even recognized at the beginning of the night to say thank you. And that's really what I want. I could care less about an award because that really doesn't mean anything to me.
Right,
but
right.
just to be thanked and show you're appreciated for what you do when not a lot of people do what we all do, it was kind of insulting, I thought. And then for stuff that we have done for carb-associated tracks, I felt kind of jilted by it and a little hurt.
Why do you suppose they did? Was that just a slip up? Or, I mean, did they forget? Or I mean, what's going on there?
First of all, Larry, you've got to be nominated, right? But myself, I say, all right, how many board members there? The board members alone should say, all right, we know these 5 or whatever, how many it is, people are actual media people. So not one of the local media should be forgotten on this. I don't know. It's just me.
I agree. I just don't understand why. Yeah, at the beginning of the night when they're recognizing everybody, they didn't mention that. I have not a clue why that happened.
I don't know. It kind of reminds me of some of the same old. I'm just going to say. So.
Hey, pound for pound, we've got probably the biggest group of media people around.
I guarantee it. Yeah, no doubt. Right? You had to go and put it that way. I will say, I will say this though, the people I don't think realize how lucky they are in this region to have the media that they have. Because Kirk, we travel all over the country.
Oh yeah.
And what the people in this area, in the Heartland area, in Topeka, Kansas City, and what you guys have been doing for over 10 years, and now this is going to be our 10th anniversary next year.
Trenton and Stick
and what they're doing. And I don't think people really get how lucky they are and what they have here. To be honest with you.
It's amazing at everything that we do and we provide for each one of the tracks. And, every week we're going out trying to find something for somebody to help promote the sport. And that's what's important. We've got to keep promoting it.
Yeah. Speaking of promoting, it's just a huge loss this week with Ron passing. Larry, you've been down there a lot more than I. Kirk has been as well. I'm traveling. I just don't get down there as often. But, I've met Ron a time or two, and he seemed like a really great guy. Your thoughts of the passing of Ron Whitworth?
It's horrible. I mean, when I was sick earlier this week, and my brother, he started texting me about 9 o'clock. I believe it was on Wednesday or Thursday night, whenever it was, and I thought, no, that can't be true. But I got online and started looking, and not as soon as I started looking, Carl Flower from Topeka here, he's the tech guy down there, he called me and told me, and I was floored by it. At 49 years old, I just cannot believe that this could happen to somebody like us. And for being who he was and for what he was, man, the first thing that went through my mind is how big of a loss this is for our racing community.
We'll talk about Ron Whitworth as a man. I know you worked with him. He helped you out when you guys were running Heartland Park Topeka dirt track. Just knows a lot about everything. Just what kind of a guy was Ron Whitworth? Oh,
he was probably one of the most well-rounded promoters. Matter of fact, out of all the promoters I've ever known, I'd had to put him up there in the top 5, if not the top 2, possibly not the best. I mean, he was as nice a guy as you could find. He went out of his way to treat people with respect, and he almost made you feel like he was your best friend. Every time you met him, every time you saw him, and honestly, we went down there during the race season, and we didn't see him all that much. Every single time that we seen him somewhere, it was always like we were best friends and hadn't missed a beat, and that's just the way he was. There's just so many things about him of being a perfectionist, the things that he and his wife Rendon, and, we talk about how great he is as being a promoter and an owner. You got to throw his wife Rendon in there with him, too, because she does everything with him. They work as a team, and, man, they had it nailed because Humboldt Speedway, if you really think about it, it is a gem. It is probably one of the best facilities, one of the cleanest facilities that you will go to if you go to any of the tracks here in the Midwest. And it's out in the middle of basically nowhere is the way I put it. Because if it was a track that was in of a heavy populated area, you'd definitely see 150 to 200 cars a night, and a majority of the reason why would be because of who Ron Whitworth was, because he took care of his drivers. He loves to take care of the fans. When I wrote the article the other day on the site, the first thing I said was, I got him in trouble doing a radio interview one day because I kept hearing from drivers that went to the racetrack, and they would say, hey, man, they treat you so right down there. He goes, I broke in hot laps, didn't race in the feature at all, didn't race in any heat races. At the end of the night when I was loading my car up, he said, Ron Whitworth came by, and he said, hey, this is for your troubles. And he'd hand him a $50 bill in cash for basically doing nothing other than coming to his racetrack. Well, unbeknownst to me, I didn't know his wife was listening to the interview, and that was a secret he kept from her. But, just little things like that shows you exactly that he cared about everybody that walked into his facility, whether it was a fan, whether it was a racer, a crew member, a sponsor. He cared about everything, and he was proud of his track and Humboldt Speedway, and he had every right to be because, man, that place, from when I first started going to it with my brothers and the Reed brothers, and I'm telling you, it was just amazing because, you're going back to the early 2000s, there was no walls around it. It was big trees on the background, and, it just wasn't what it is today. Each and every year, they put their heart and soul, their time and effort by themselves into that racetrack every off season, and it's changed to what it is today. And, man, it's immaculate.
Junior, what do you think is going to happen at this point? I mean, obviously it's too early to really know. Would she continue, you think? Does she have the will, or is there family members? Or, I mean, I know we can't really say that with any authority that we know what's going to happen. What would you think would happen at this point? Because they've done such a great job getting to the track to where it is right now. It'd be a travesty if we were to lose that momentum and all the positive things that are happening down at Humboldt.
Well, you're definitely right. It's too early to call, but, if I had a wish or if I had a dream, they go ahead and keep continuing with it because the Whitworth name the family name is synonymous with Humboldt Speedway. You go back to Dwayne and then Ron, the whole family, Ryan, Riley, Miranda, and Mom Judy even is there every single night, it seems like, helping out. For them to keep continuing on is basically what I think everybody would want. In the past few years, I had even met with them at possibly working for them down there. And one of the first things that caught my mind was, well, it's just a little too far for me to travel. But the thing is, though, I always thought that Ryan, his older son, had a knack for it and almost kind of has the same kind of characteristics of his father.
How old is he?
I'm not too sure. I'd probably say in his middle 20s, probably. Mm-hmm. But he would be a real good candidate to step up and start helping out a little bit more there. He raced modifieds for a while, kind of stepped back from his program a little bit, and in the last few years when they had the King of America race and all those down there, he took more of a hand at helping out and doing things around the track, and he just seems like a prime fit, and like I said, I think that family needs to be involved with that racetrack because they are Humboldt Speedway.
Well, and he had a good mentor in his father, so that he could translate maybe and take a little bit of that, what he's learned, and at his young age, that could mean a long, prosperous career of being one of the good promoters. Maybe he's a 25-year promoter because he started young because of this unfortunate situation that we have here. But in reality, learning from the father, picking up his boots and moving on and trying to run it, it could turn out okay, I think.
Oh yeah, I think in the long run, if they do that, I think they'll be fine because they've got to, like you talked about, shared all their information with each other, and Dorinda's still there to take the load on to herself, and she knows quite a bit about it. But I think they're going to be just fine.
Yeah, that is quite a racing family. Not often, Larry, do you hear about promoters that are universally as liked as Ron Whitworth was. I mean, you always hear the bad and the good for everybody. It's a position that's almost like a politician, where you're going to have your haters and detractors for sure. But Ron Whitworth was the kind of guy that was universally loved by everybody, racers and fans, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, everywhere he went, he was somebody that everybody knew who he was, even outside of Humboldt Speedway. He was at Lakeside later this year during, I think it was the Jayhawk. Him and his son came up, and the guy did things right. And when you do things right, you can be successful. You can have a good racetrack. people can like you. Yeah, I'm sure that there's probably some people we can find out there that weren't happy with maybe something he did. But I tell you what, as the way promoters and owners go, he had a pretty good run at what he did. Because I tell you what, I mean, I'd probably say 98, 99% of the people loved who he was.
Yeah. Well, what made him so great is he was a racer himself. He understood. The racers knew that he understood that side of it. He coming from that type of background that even if they might not have agreed with everything they did, they understood where he was coming from, and they were willing to accept it with that kind of respect. Yeah, that's hard to get.
Yeah, and you're right. And making the tough decisions and doing things, you're not going to make 100% of the people happy all the time. But as long as you treat everybody fair and as long as you treat everybody the same, so one penalty is the same for the next penalty that comes, it's exactly the same, everybody's going to know, hey, that's the way it is. And just like you said, Kirk, they're going to respect you. And he had to do that. There's certain things that he had even just in this last year that probably weren't easy to handle, but he went and stuck by his guns and did what he exactly knew that he wanted to do.
Larry Lowery Jr. joining us. John and Jr., famously for the inthepits.net. You can check their website out. And great piece that you wrote about Ron Whitworth on your website earlier this week. Talk about him as a track preparer. He was one of the great track preparers around, wasn't he?
Man, he was a perfectionist. He was almost like who was the guy for the Royals and for the Aero team? Was it George Toma or Toma?
Yeah, George Toma, right.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way he was. I mean, he actually looked at it, and when they actually started to call me about possibly coming down and working for them, they wanted me to handle the other side because really Ron, his big thing was he wanted to handle the track. That's what he loved to do, almost like a farmer. I mean, he just loved to go out and work that track until it was perfection. And, it's weird because I would go down and there's times that I thought, man, this track is awesome. It's great. Good racing, top to bottom. And I tell you what, he'd be sitting over there in the middle of that infield and he'd just be mad. I mean, and he'd be mad at himself. And I couldn't understand why, because to me, it looked fine. You talk to the drivers, they would say it was a great racetrack, but he just wasn't happy with it. And I guess from becoming so good at doing it, maybe that was his high standards that he put on himself, but he had it down. And you think about it, his track faces the same direction, that's east-west, just like Heartland Park is, and everybody always talks about dust and everything in your face. He pretty much got it to where this track really didn't even get dusty even in the hot summer months. He had it figured out so much, and really, when it comes to working a racetrack, I think it's a crapshoot. It's basically you get what you get, but he had it down to where it was almost a science for him.
And the thing that I liked about it, he didn't have it always locked down. It was always a finesse track. A driver had to know how to drive his car. He made it just slick enough to where you could have a little bit at the top and a little bit at the bottom a lot of times, but it wasn't heavy hammer down type track, So thinking about the drivers as well.
Oh, yeah, and that's probably one of his first thoughts was always to think about those drivers. But you're right. If you go back not to this last year, but the year before, on his weekly racing series, every time we went down there, I bet we probably were down there 6 or 7 times that year. Myself and the Reed brothers would go down. And I tell you what, out of those 6 or 7 times in the modified feature alone, I bet out of the 6 or 7 times, 5 times we saw what was close to being a photo finish.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many racetracks that can make that boast or not, but I tell you what, it goes to the fact that he gave everybody about the raciest track that you could have, and the racers, they provided for him.
Right.
And, not only was he real good at that, he was good at sharing information. I mean, like Kirk talked about when we wrote the article, when we started Heartland Park here, hey, we weren't real good at running the racetrack, and we didn't know how to take care of a racetrack or prep a track. The first call John made was to Ron Whitworth. Took the time to talk to him, give him all the help he needed. Even came up to the racetrack to help us out. And, a guy like that is invaluable because, if you look at some other racetracks, there's some other racetracks that would probably say, hey, wait a minute, I want everybody to come to my track. I want everybody to know about me, and would be, more introverted. Ron Whitworth didn't care. He was helping out racing, period, no matter where it was, at Heartland Park, Thunderhill, Lakeside. He would help out anybody if they asked.
Again, we're talking about the passing of Ron Whitworth, who passed away at the young age of 49 on Wednesday night, I believe, around 7 o'clock. promoter and owner of Humboldt Speedway. And our thoughts and prayers are out to the family. Again, Kirk, the information tomorrow, visitation tomorrow afternoon, I believe, and the funeral Monday afternoon. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. And then if there's anything different than this, Larry, you can chime in here. But visitation tomorrow afternoon from 2 until 4 at the funeral home there in Chanute, Kansas, the Penwell Gable Funeral Home in Chanute. And the funeral services Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock at the First Baptist Church Good News Center. There's going to be a lot of people down there. They just knew everybody, didn't they?
Yeah, it should be a nice turnout in the memory of Ron Whitworth. All right, Junior, thanks so much for being on the show. Listen, I'm just going to ask you, not trying to put you on the spot. Can you say anything about Lakeside Speedway? I don't know if you heard the first hour. I know that Mark and Paige have really had tough times with the flood and the rainouts in the years prior to that. Hot weather this year, attendance down because of that, and I don't know. Maybe some people try to blame television. I'm not sure if one way or the other about that. But can you share any information? I know you are the man when you and your brother, have been taking care of Lakeside for a long time. You take care of their website. Your brother announces out there. You guys are well connected. I understand if you can't talk about anything, but what can you say?
Scott, I really, honestly, outside of just talking to Mark about some stuff, I honestly really don't know a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah.
Other than the possibility of the track being for sale, that would be the only thing I've even heard or room. But every year I hear all these different rumors and hear everything, and after a while, you start to become impervious to some of these things.
Right.
And it's like, well, it goes on, And, hey, if something has to happen, if Mark decides he needs to sell the racetrack, or if he does something else, then, hey, I'm behind him 110% because he has to do what he has to do to make his life better or take care of him and his wife, Paige.
I agree.
Outside of that, I'll go with the flow because, if somebody else comes into Lakeside Speedway, I'd offer them the same amount of help that I gave Mark and everybody else. But honestly, I kind of just stay out of the loop when it comes to that point of the stuff because
it's easier.
I don't want to get too involved.
Right. Junior, do you know though what was there a point fund that was supposed to be established this year? There's nothing in writing that says there was supposed to be a point fund. So maybe we knew there wasn't going to be, but from talking to some of the drivers, they thought that there was going to be the registration in the half of the 50-50 money. Can you shed any light on that at all?
And not really, because I don't know. Again, that's something that I didn't handle.
Right.
Outside of the stuff that I handled, I mean, I can guarantee you 110% on what I know that I do. But outside of that, I'm not sure. But I do know Mark Olson, and if he says that he's going to get everybody paid, because they didn't get paid at a certain time that maybe they normally do, that I feel for them that they didn't get paid then. But if he said he was going to pay them a points fund, or if there is a points fund, he would pay it if that's what he said he's going to do.
I like to think so too.
Yeah, and it's funny because we all talk about the year that he gave out the letter and said he didn't know what the points fund was going to be, as it had been in the past. Not a lot of people said that that they all jumped the gun, and when he gave them the paper, there's no points fund, we're all doing this for nothing. But yet, if I remember right, everybody got some points fund money, but boy, you didn't hear much about that, did you?
You heard, and it was lesser, but they still did get something, and that's where I'm disappointed this year. That just something. Maybe, who knows? And I'm just speculating. But if the track does sell, maybe if he comes out good on that deal, enough to where he feels that he could take a little bit of that and send something out to the guys. I just, I hate it for Mark. I hate what's going on out there, and I know he's struggling because he's told me a time or two. But you know what? He's been one of the good promoters, and I'll give him the credit for that. He's been one of the good ones for over the years, and we hate seeing him go.
Oh yeah, but,
if that happens.
Yeah, if that happens. But like I said, the rumors always abound during winter time. So
right.
If I could just skip from winter, go straight from off season to race season, right? And skip that off season and knock it out, I think I'd be better off.
Junior, you got anything new? You're going to be writing any new columns coming up on your website, inthepits.net?
Oh, we're working on a few things and working on a few new business ventures, so you never know what In the Pits might be doing here. The Reed brothers and John and I, we got to sit down over some biscuits and gravy and discuss what we need to do here in the next few weeks.
Well, one of the big topics is the sport dying. You've had a two-part article about that. Is the sport dying?
Well, really, that's J.D. Green is actually the one penning those articles, and he's got a little bit of a point there. And I've kind of discussed it a little bit with him, where we've been talking about these front-wheel drive, four-cylinder cars that we're seeing at some of these tracks. And, we're getting a few of the young drivers that are moving up and coming along. But where are we seeing a big influx of really new racers in, say, the street stock class or even the B-Mod class?
Yep.
And we need to start finding some of those people. Plus, we talk about attendance going down. Okay, well, now's the time we should be grabbing some of these people that aren't spending their dollars elsewhere at the summertime trying to find something else to do that's a little cheaper. Hey, let's bring them into our sport and show them what we got so we can see if we can keep it going.
It's a lot easier said than done, though, isn't it, Junior? I mean, really. It's difficult with all the things that you have to compete against for entertainment dollars. It's very tough. The flood, I've said it 1,000 times about Lakeside Speedway, I think kind of took the momentum out of people going, not the momentum, but the habit. Junior, you grew up, your habit was going to Topeka and Shawnee. That was your thing. That's what you did. Thunder Hill, what have you. Your tracks that you grew up going to every week, and that's how I grew up, going to Riverside and Lakeside and I-70. That was my habit. And when you get out of that habit of going, sometimes you realize I'm saving a little money and, for whatever reason, that you just decide not to go back sometimes. And we just need to maybe get people excited. I don't think I see it actually, because I travel and I go to a lot of different racetracks around the country. I see attendance moving up now in the grand scheme of things. So I don't think attendance is going to continue to fall. I think it's working its way back up.
But we got to get new, younger people enthused about building race cars and bringing them out the track. Because I'm with you, Junior. I'm kind of concerned about where we're going to get the new racers.
Junior, the thing we got to get is people in the stands, right?
Well, yeah.
We've got cars that are racing, but we've got to get new people that want to watch racing.
Well, but before too long, we're going to start to lose those cars. And one of the other points that, like J.D. Green was making to me, the one thing that we're also losing is we're losing skilled craftsmen that can do things like weld and build race cars and stuff like that. So we need some of these new blood to come up and some new people that can also handle that and keep the sport moving. I would rather flood all avenues of keeping our sport going than just one. I know we need to probably work on one at a time, but, man, I want new cars, new people. I want new fans coming in the gate. I want to keep us going, and I think that's what's going to be our job here in the next few years, is to help keep promoting the sport to where we can get new people involved.
Junior, quickly before we let you go, talk about Heartland Park Topeka, their season. Terry Watland was up there this year. You were announcing up there. Give us kind of an overall take of the season up there and how you thought it went.
I thought the season went well. I mean, you always have a few hiccups in the road, and that was Terry's first full year of making things happen up there. Kind of looking forward to see what happens here in his second year. But it ought to be a lot of fun. I enjoyed last year. Last year was great. Had a lot of great racing. Darren Fuquay, again, shows why he's becoming one of the hottest drivers in the modified area here with another championship. You look over at some of the other drivers. Terry Schmidt had a great run in the factory stock division. He's got some other newcomers in that class, too, that are looking pretty good. Zach Henry's a kid I think that everybody ought to be watching here in the near future. And then there's a kid in the pure stock division. Didn't even race before. He ends up racing in the pure stock division, wins 9 features.
Wow.
Takes home the championship. Gets a B-Mod with about 5 weeks to go in the season. Goes to Lakeside, makes a couple features there. Leads a feature at Heartland Park, and the kid's never even raced before.
Not a go-kart, nothing.
Remind us, what's the name on that kid?
Randall Schiffelbein Jr.
How about that?
And it provided a lot of excitement, and Heartland Park had a lot of excitement in each one of their divisions, and that made the whole night a lot of fun. I mean, and Terry's got a good thing going there. Hopefully he can continue to build on it, and I think he can in this next year.
All right, Junior, great job as always, man. Miss you on the radio, buddy. I'm just saying, so hopefully we can get you back on and see you doing something like that in the near future. Thanks for joining us here on our show, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, fellas. appreciate the time, guys. Anytime.
All right, Junior. Thank you.
go.
There's Larry
Yeah.
Lowery Jr. and a good guy and a guy that's really good at what he does too. By the way, so
He's a racer too, you know.
right.
He and his brother John, they're big into racing. They've raced themselves, and they have that kind of passion for the sport that you don't often find.
They've done a lot of good things, right? All right, let's bring on the announcer down at Humboldt Speedway, Scott L. Stewart. Scott, how you doing?
Just fine. How are you?
Thanks for taking the time to join us on the show during this difficult time. I guess we've kind of touched about a lot of the things. Your thoughts on Ron Whitworth and the passing? Obviously, a good friend of yours.
He was a tremendous individual. Ron was very meticulous, as you can tell, about his preparations, and his primary concern at all times was that the fan was going to get what they paid for when they came to his racetrack. He wanted everything to be prepared. He wanted the show to go smoothly, quickly, and we all worked towards that end. And we're, those of us that work there, we've worked together for a number of years, and we're pretty much a family. And it's like we lost our dad.
Mm.
It's hard to fathom, but we'll go on.
Yeah. I don't know if we've asked this question. Where was Ron at the time of his passing? Was he at the track working, or was he?
He was at his home.
He was at home.
As I understand it, he was at his home with the grandkids, and it came upon him quick. And by the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late.
Wow, terrible.
Yeah, that's
with the grandkids too.
You've been with Ron from the start. You raced against Ron. Tell us about that experience.
Yeah. Well, back in 82, 83, around in there, and Ron was competing. Then, of course, so was his dad, Dwayne. And boy, he was a tough competitor. I mean, he was not afraid to rub you, but he was, he wasn't malicious about it or anything. He just wanted to win. And he was quite a guy.
And again, we were talking to John Larry Lowery Jr. from John and Junior's in the pits.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we go from here? I mean, obviously we've got to lay Ron to rest, and again, that's tomorrow afternoon. They'll have the visitation, and Kirk will give that information out again before the end of the show, and then on Monday they'll have the burial service. But do we know where do we go? His son, Junior, was saying, has been really active in that department. Do you see his son being able to pick up the reins?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. Renda and Ron worked hand in hand. They were integral, and Renda understands the business aspects of the track, and Ryan actually did not race last year. Even though he was a very competitive driver, he did not race last year in order to work with his mom and dad to maintain the track. And I think we're going to be fine. It's going to be different without Ron, but I think we'll be fine.
You mentioned your experience racing against him and how he would lean on you. That kind of competitive spirit kind of carried over to his operation of the racetrack. He really wanted that track to look good. And really, that is the reason why he was so successful as a track operator, that competitive spirit, is it not?
It is. It is indeed. And Ron, if you read in the pits, if you read that eulogy about where Ron got in trouble with Renda because he told the guys that occasionally he had helped people that broke early. He'd slip them a little cash to help them, get back home and one thing and another. And Renda didn't know that. But by the same token, he took no guff off anybody either. The rules were the rules, and you either obeyed them or you you went on your way. But overall, he was just a tremendous businessman and an incredible individual.
Talk about the relationship he had with Todd Staley, USMTS. That became one of the premier racetracks for the United States Modified Touring Series and the USRA, and some of the premier events of the USMTS, including the King of America Modified Nationals, now at Humboldt Speedway. Talk about that, bringing in the USMTS and making that a big part of his program.
Well, you know, USMTS has been racing with us. I don't know exactly how long, but I'm pretty sure it's over 10 years now. And it's, as they've grown and we've grown, it's been a wonderful relationship. It's always nice when they come to town. We enjoy them, and of course the fans love them. And it's been a real treat, a real pleasure to work with those guys. And again, I'm sure that, you know, that relationship will continue. It's just going to be a little different without the boss.
Well, Scott, thanks for joining us during these difficult times. I know it's very tough to talk about, especially so soon after the passing. We'll just have to cherish the memories, try to continue on the tradition, and hopefully his son and his wife will be able to do so. Thanks again for so much. Is there anything that you would like to add on your final thoughts?
Just that, you know, Ron loved racing and he loved the fans. And he instilled that in all of us, and we'll carry on the legacy. It'll be difficult, but we'll carry on the legacy.
His presence will not go away, ever.
No, sir.
Yeah. Well said, Scott. And again, thanks so much for joining us during this tough time. All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
All righty, bye-bye.
Bye.
There he is, the voice of Humboldt Speedway, Scott L. Stewart, and we appreciate him joining us here. And he was with them right from the very start, 23 years operating Humboldt Speedway. Scott L. Stewart joined them at the time that they purchased the racetrack.
How many years has it been?
23 years.
It's hard to believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
Really, think about that. It's really hard to believe.
An incredible run.
Wow.
And it will continue. The Whitworth family will continue to operate. The thing I've been so impressed with Humboldt Speedway, especially over the last year and a half, is the addition of the pit area behind the back straightaway and around turns 3 and 4. Used to be the pit area was out in the front parking lot, which wasn't very big. They didn't have a big pit area. But when they moved the pit area to the back side of the racetrack in 3 and 4, it transformed the whole facility. And that just happened within the last year and a half.
Well, you know, again, we've been talking about promoters quite a bit this morning, Kirk, and anytime that you lose one that puts the extra effort in, and not only that, helping area tracks as well, like going up and helping John and Junior with Heartland Park Topeka when they were promoting that racetrack to see if they could get their dirt work working for them. It says a lot about his character and the kind of person he is. And, again, anytime we lose somebody like that, it's a huge loss, but I got to feel good about this situation. I think they're in good hands.
Well, as you know, I used Ron Whitworth and his family's example of how they operate a racetrack as go to Humboldt Speedway and see how they do it.
Yeah.
And that's how you should do it at a race. I've said that many times. You know that. Because of the way they keep the property clean and well kept. The curb appeal is fantastic, like you're driving into their own home. The way they have, you know, flowers and everything is mowed up and looking good. The buildings are new and well kept. And that is also a very important, is how your track appears to people when they drive in. And they did such a great job, and still do, of keeping up that track facility and the track preparation. We talked about that, and just the way they treat the racers and the fans. It is a great example of just what can be a successful racing operation, especially in these tough economic times.
It's very tough. Tough. All right. We need to thank our great sponsor. We need to run their commercial as well, too, Kirk. McCarthy Chevrolet, proud sponsor of RacinBoys Radio, Hour 1 and 2 on Sports Radio 810 WHB, as well as here on RacinBoys Radio on RacinBoys.com. Get out to McCarthy Chevrolet. Check them out at kccars.com. There's only one place to go to purchase a car, McCarthy Chevrolet. When you go to kccars.com, it's going to take you to the McCarthy Auto Group website, and you can find all the information from any one of the McCarthy dealerships that belong to the McCarthy Group. We're proud to say that McCarthy Chevrolet is our sponsor, and we'll be right back right after this brief message. You don't have an audio spot right there,
We
Kirk?
run that, Todd. If you got that commercial spot, go ahead and run it.
He's not ready.
Not ready.
We probably should have been ready for that. We don't have an audio spot.
Not here, no.
So you're not ready either?
No.
Okay. Not prepared this morning. Okay, so anyway, just get out there, check it out, and let me see. Brian Schaefer was telling me there was something new going on out there, and let's just go back and see if I can find that information real quick. Brian Schaefer, general manager out at McCarthy Chevrolet, been just a huge supporter of us long before he was at McCarthy Chevrolet, and now remember, I know what it was, McCarthy Toyota in Sedalia. That's what it is. If you want a Toyota, if you choose to go that route, like my partner, he's a Toyota driver, you can go down to McCarthy Toyota in Sedalia. Just opened up here recently, just a few weeks ago. So Brian Schaefer, a part of that as well. That's a new member of the McCarthy Auto Group family. And again, you can find out all that information at kccars.com. Great deals on certified used cars as well as new cars and trucks. Great deals on Silverado. Huge savings on Silverados right now, folks. Just monster savings on Chevrolet Silverados. I like the Equinox. 218,000 miles after this last trip to Indy. Not a problem. Still driving the original brakes. Actually, I will say this. My Equinox is the best car I've ever owned, period. I've never owned a better car than my Equinox. Bought it at McCarthy Chevrolet in 2008, and not so sure that I'm not going to get another Equinox because of the success that I've had with mine. I know my girlfriend Kathy, her daughter has purchased her a new Equinox. She loves it. My ex-wife drives an Equinox. She loves it. Everybody that I know that have purchased one. I was talking to Rob Klepper, his brother. He's got an Equinox, and he was telling me how much he loved his as well. That was down at the Indy show. So Equinox, one of the favorites of Chevrolet people out there across the country. So there you have it. Check them out again, kccars.com. Make sure you tell Brian Schaefer the RacinBoys sent you.
Okay, let's choose up. I'll take Jamal and Tutal. You can have Chubbs and Skippy. Let's go. My ball.
Okay. But you got skins.
Not a good negotiator? You don't have to be a good negotiator at McCarthy Chevrolet. McCarthy guarantees the lowest prices on a new Chevy or we'll pay you $10,000. We guarantee there's no need to shop anyplace else. McCarthy Chevrolet, I-35 and Santa Fe, Olathe.
There you have again, I-35 in Santa Fe on Rawhide Road. It is the road to the north, the outer road. You can't miss it. When you are headed south on I-35 and you are coming up on Santa Fe, you'll look to the right and you'll see the big place.
It is a big place, and a great service department down there, and great people at McCarthy Chevrolet, that's for sure.
All right, let's see what people are talking about. Anybody want any thing they want to touch on the chat room? I would like to hear from those people now. I know that we've had some problems along the way here, but it seems like the internet is up.
Is our internet back going better than it was?
Yeah, it seems to be going a little bit
earlier
better.
this morning.
What the hell's going on with the fog?
Our internet service provider was not pumping out the juice that it normally does, which kind of slowed us down.
Got a
Hopefully it's
fog
a lot
that
better
moved
now.
in.
What's that, Todd?
We got a fog that
It's
has
kind of
moved in.
foggy.
What is that all about? This is the strangest weather
Or
I've ever
Cheech
seen.
and Chong have moved into the neighborhood,
It's
one or the
crazy.
other. I don't know. Crazy out there.
You know, we had this hot, dry summer,
Yeah.
and then October seemed to be a normal month, rain and all kinds of things. Then it's dried up again, and we've had this mild winter. We didn't even have a winter a year ago, and now here we are. It's been warm again here in the early part of the winter now, and now we see fog rolling in. What in the world is going on?
You know, Kirk, I will tell you, I haven't been in the cool weather much this year.
You've been from Arizona to Florida to Indianapolis.
I'd like to go back to Florida right now.
You were not just in Florida. You were down in the south part of. Weren't you down by Fort Myers?
Yeah, Cape Coral. Yeah, awesome.
Boy, you've been coast to coast, man.
I drove to Phoenix to Cape Coral via Kansas City.
That Chevrolet Equinox has been everywhere.
What's that, Todd?
Via Kansas City. That's
Kansas
about
City.
right.
What's that old song? What's that one where I make my way via Omaha? What was that song, Todd? Come on.
Yeah, I'm bad at that. Coming up on the spot. Let me feel it.
It was the song. It was kind of like a.
Don't ask me.
No, I'm not, because you're not good at music. But it's that song. Was it Jerry Reed that sung that, or it was kind of a parody song, and he was getting his ass kicked in a bar.
If it's Jerry Reed, I ought to have heard it before.
You remember he was getting his butt kicked, and he was a long-haired hippie, and he went into the redneck bar. You know which one I'm talking about? And he's kind of talks through it, and then he says, as he is turning and yelling and screaming at her, and I'm running out the door, and I went to L.A. through Omaha or something. You know what song I'm talking about?
No, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry.
I can't help you.
I don't think we have enough listeners for anybody, because we were off the air there a little bit.
So long.
Yeah, we've got some people listening, but
we're going to replay this whole show. The second hour, we'll get it up on the website for those of you that might have missed it all. We'll have it up there.
He started pointing and screaming at me, and he was in the bar and he's talking to the girl, and then the big dude with the big green teeth walked in. You don't remember that song?
Man,
I'd have to hear the melody. I'm sure I've heard it.
Oh, I know you've heard it.
If we heard the melody.
It's not Jerry Reed, though. Now that I think about it, it's not Jerry Reed. Oh,
no! Now you'll have us all just kind of wrapping our brains trying to figure out what you're talking about.
I can't think even another minute about anything else but that song right now.
It's in your brain. You can't get rid of it.
Darn it! Only if we had some people on the chat room that could tell us. Usually we're pretty good at that. Getting somebody on the chat room. Oh yeah, no, I won't figure it out, because it's some oddball band. It was a parody song.
You got Lakeside Speedway on my mind this morning. I can't think of anything else.
Well, don't get me going again on that. Again, there was no disrespect towards Mark Olson there. He might take that as disrespect, that we're talking about his business. That's what I do.
No, I had a problem with. You said he was moping around the other night at the banquet. I don't know about that.
I won't tell you who, but I got a text from somebody who just said the same thing. Text me, said the same thing. Said looked real stressed out, and
I talked to him before we sat down to eat the other night, and he seemed normal to me when he was sitting down at the table.
Kirk, I pointed it out, how he was kind of dragging his feet, walking around, had his hands in his pocket, looking down at the ground. I pointed that out to you.
Yeah, and I agree.
Did you not see that when I pointed it out?
Yeah, I did, but I don't know.
But I want to be on both sides of the fence. Can I do that? Can I get on both sides of the fence?
I can't read much into that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's what he does. Have you figured that out, Todd?
Yeah.
Can I listen? I just, if I can't straddle the fence, maybe I could just jump on each side of it once in a while.
You ain't gonna tie him down.
I'll go over on this side for a little bit, and then then I'll go on the other side, and then maybe I'll grab
here's the thing
hook
about
my jeans and just land right in the middle.
Here's the thing about all this stuff about Lakeside Speedway. We've heard this off-season stuff before about him selling the track.
I'm not saying anything until I know for a fact. Somebody's going to have to report something.
And here's the reason why. We've heard these rumors in the off-season for how many years in a row now? And Mark Olson still owns that racetrack, does he not?
You want to bet some money on this one?
And I would not be surprised.
Kirk,
matter of fact,
would you like to make a little wager on this one?
I don't.
Some peanuts.
Sure, why not?
Oh,
I'll bet you that Mark Olson still runs this racetrack when it opens up in April. That's what I believe.
What level of damage do you want to do to yourself on this one, Kirk?
Oh, nothing major. I don't want to bet the farm.
See there, he's not betting the farm.
But
I want in on this.
I don't feel any different about this.
You
than
want
I did.
some of Kirk's action here?
I'll tell you, to be honest with you, I don't feel any different this year as I did a year ago about the prospects of Mark Olson selling that racetrack right now.
I do. Because one of the people who's trying to purchase it told me they're in the lawyer stages of it.
Well, being in the lawyer stages and actually pulling off the deal, those are two separate things. Let's see if it actually is consummated, completed. We'll see.
I'll bet you.
I am skeptical about that.
As you are about everything in life, Kirk. You're not one to be quick to, the ship could be sinking out here in the driveway, and Kirk would say, "Well, it just looks like it's a little water.
I'll also make you.
We're out here in the middle of the ocean, and the boat is leaning to the left because there's a lot of water. But I'm confident that we'll be able to get to land before it sinks."
I also will make this assumption that I believe that Mark Olson will pay some sort of a point fund to these drivers before the beginning of next year.
Did I ever tell you that I'm really always on the minority side of things in life? I'm not really a majority type person. I like to be a little bit different. I'm going to go
out and say this. This is what I'm going to predict. Mark Olson will still be running Lakeside Speedway as he has,
and he's going to
pay
some point fund money too.
And he will pay out some sort of a point fund to his drivers before the season begins.
And he's going to raise the point fund in 2013 from.
No, I'm not saying that. He's not going to. No, I'm not predicting that. All I'm saying is he'll pay out some sort of a point fund before the beginning of next year, and he will operate Lakeside Speedway.
Disclaimer for Kirk Elliott. Mark Olson and Kirk Elliott were pretty good friends at one time, weren't you, bud?
Sure.
Travel with him? You ever go to races with him?
Yep.
More than one?
Sprint car races back in the early 90s. Before he got
more than one time
business.
did you travel with him to a race?
A couple times.
Disclaimer. Okay. There you have it, folks.
No, I am just telling you how I feel.
I just don't like making anybody mad at me. I want everybody to love me for me being a good guy I am.
It is not that. I do not. This is my honest opinion now. I'm going to tell you my honest opinion. I do not feel that a sale is imminent, nor do I think it's going to happen before next year.
Todd, what do you think the chances are of Kirk putting up this segment where I'm imitating him?
That's what I was just curious.
What do you think the chances
the whole hour's going up.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
This whole hour.
I don't like it when you do that. When you try to talk like me on there. I think I'm going to.
This whole hour is going up on the web.
Your nephew Brad can nail your imitation.
He does a lot better job than you do.
I know it, but I guarantee it. When I do it, people laugh though. It's close enough. You know why his is better? Because he can look like you when he does
relation.
No, he's great.
Yeah.
Blood.
Who's the other guy with the Sports Radio 810? You used to work at 1510 that did me.
Oh, Mark the Tape. Who's the guy at 1510 that did me?
No longer around.
Who's that guy that used to do me?
I can't remember.
Mark the tape on that one, would you?
58 minutes into this.
But, something
good. Oh, that was
I can't remember. I'm getting old.
That is terrible.
Lost my memory.
Ozone and Chaos, or Ozone and
it wasn't Ozone. Kenny
and Ozone.
Kenny and Ozone.
He nailed it. I just really am uncomfortable with this conversation.
No, it's not that I'm uncomfortable with the conversation. I'm telling you how I feel about this whole situation with Lakeside Speedway. My opinion is, call me when something happens.
Yeah, call me when the press release comes out, because
I don't think anything's going to happen.
We love following everybody around here at RacinBoys. We do not want to be the leaders with news.
Well, you can report that news. But I, in my opinion, I'll believe it when I see it. When Mark Olson sells that racetrack, I'll believe it when I see it. And until that happens, I just don't think it's going to happen.
Bonus coverage here on Racing Boys because we were down for a couple minutes, so we're just giving you.
We're going to go to 10 after, right?
We
Make it a full
10.
hour.
That's right. Well, all I'm telling you is that it's too rampant now. This, I agree with you, Kirk. We've heard this many times in the past, but I'm going to tell you right now, I believe that it's going to be sold. And if Mike Johnson doesn't buy it, I believe Clint Boyer will. I think he has to put out the schedule now and act like business as usual. But if you notice, only his two big marquee events were really in there. Well, 3, I guess. The Jayhawk, the McCarthy Jayhawk, or Modified Classic, or what's that called?
The Jayhawk McCarthy Jayhawk Modified Classic. The McCarthy Auto Group Jayhawk Modified Classic.
That's it. And then the Tom Carrick Memorial and the World of Outlaws.
The
World of Outlaws is a leased event by SLS.
There is one thing that would tend to give me some pause about what I just talked about. There was
Wait till you hear this one.
There was a note on in the pits website. Somebody had posted on their website about, I called out to Lakeside Speedway and the line had been disconnected. Well, I called out there this morning.
Line disconnected.
913-299-2040. That's the number for Lakeside Speedway.
No longer a working number.
It said this line has been temporarily disconnected.
Well, and I will also...
And in the past, they've left the number up and the line going, taking messages and so forth, even in the off-season. But this is the first time that line has been disconnected.
So that brings some sort of message, maybe.
Well, that's the thing that's different now.
See how he does it
in the past.
You see there, Todd?
I don't know
exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't know what to read into that.
He is like a freaking ping pong ball going over the net. Bing,
no,
bong,
all I'm
bing,
saying
bong,
is I don't change my opinion. I'll believe it when I see it, and I still believe that. But if there's one thing that's different than in years past, I don't know what to read into that, but their telephone line's been disconnected.
I also was told that the concrete company next door was told not to pour any more concrete over there off of Turn 2 because the new owners don't want it.
The new owners don't want it.
The people that are purchasing the track do not want it. Also was told that the guy that has the trailers there, the trailers that are parked up on the hill up there,
sure,
was told that guy was told you probably ought to get those out of there.
I'll say something.
You heard that, Todd?
The trailers have been moved already. I drove by there last night,
and they were gone.
Been moved on to another local racing property.
The go-kart track?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'm going to,
So when do you think this will all come down? When do you believe that?
I think we're going to hear.
We're going to know
before the first of the year.
Before the first of the year. That's soon.
Yeah. Have to.
I mean, this is already.
If you're a businessman, you're purchasing the racetrack. You got to get your business going. You can't wait till mid-January, February to get it going. You got to get sponsorship in place. Let people know because. Let's face it, people think that track's going to be closed down.
So here we are on the 8th of December. Something's going to happen quickly.
I'll tell you this. I have been told this, and I don't know if this is true or not. So my source on this was just somebody. But I've been told that he won't open the racetrack if he doesn't sell it.
And who is that that's told you that?
I can't reveal
You
my
can't
source.
reveal your source.
I know that I've lived out in that area since I was 7 or 8, 10, whatever. And they've never, once they put that track out there, they've never moved those trailers other than during a flood.
Right.
Or
I don't even think they moved them during that flood, did they?
Yeah, well, they moved some equipment.
Yeah, they moved it up there on the bank, though, up on the terrace parking.
Exactly. But this is the first time I've ever come off a Walcott Drive exit and seen those trailers
Todd,
up on that other property.
If you had to go one way or the other, you think something's going on?
Yeah, I've heard, and
go ahead.
This is my
scared.
first. Yeah, that's all right. This is my first year, actually covering it. I've watched it and stuff and heard things before, but I've heard it from other people that would, that I normally wouldn't hear this kind of buzz from, in places that in stores from people that I would normally wouldn't hear this buzz from.
You know what we're going to do in the future? We're going to put a camera in there for Todd up there in the corner, so when he talks, and he's talking to us, so people can see, it's just not the man behind the curtain. So
like the Wizard of Oz.
Wizard of Oz. Yeah.
There you go.
It's happening, folks. You can be like Kirk and be in denial,
Well, I'm not in denial.
No.
I'm skeptical.
I've done my
I'm
homework.
skeptical.
I've got to believe in my hard work at looking at what's going on here. So, well, you know what? Let's see if he wants to come on. Answer that there real quick.
Hello?
Hey, turn your mic down, Todd.
We'll see.
Never know. We'll see. Maybe we might have a guest here in a minute. Might want to say something. I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe not. We'll see here in just a second. For the people that are still listening, which I don't think are many, that could be interesting. What's getting ready to happen right here? Todd, give me a yes or no. Does he want to come
radio.
on? No, he doesn't want to come on. All right. All right. Okay. No.
Yeah.
All
right.
All right. Okay.
What did he say there, Todd?
He'd like Scott to give him a buzz after the show.
Okay. That's it.
The famous give me a call.
He didn't call your number, though.
I don't know.
Did he?
I don't know. Don't know. Well, okay.
After the show.
I'll do it after the show.
Well, that's too late. We got the show going on right now.
Okay. It's 10 after. We've got an hour in. All right, roll the theme. Maybe we'll have more news next week.
We'll find out.
We'll see. All right. So let's not forget, really the most important part of this show is the memory of Ron Whitworth and his passing. Don't forget, arrangements, Kirk, one more time. Can you put that up there?
2 o'clock until 4 tomorrow afternoon at the Pinwell Gable Funeral Home in Chanute, Kansas.
Do you have an address on that by chance?
You can go to the, we've got a link on the story on the homepage, pinwellgablechanoot.com. You can go to get the address directions, and also funeral services Monday afternoon at 2 o'clock at the First Baptist Church Good News Center in Chanute. Our best wishes, sympathies to the Whitworth family.
All right. Thoughts and prayers to the Whitworth family. For Todd, Kirk, I'm Scott. We'll see you next week.